friends, it's Carrie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing card number 4 in my holiday card series for 2017. And today I'm going to start out by using my little tonic mat here. This is new to my collection of goodies. And I've been wanting this mat for quite some time and finally got my hands on it. And so I'm going to be getting that out today, as well as doing some of my stamping onto pieces of some Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock. I'm also going to be using my Misty tool here. I'm going to use this background stamp from Hero Arts. This is the hand-drawn snowflake. Absolutely one of my favorite snowflake backgrounds ever. It's so beautiful, and I just love the random pattern to it and just the overall look of the whole entire background. So I'm going to do some embossing of these two backgrounds. So I'm going to go ahead and prep my cardstock with my anti-static powder tool. You want to do this before you do any type of embossing, because you're going to add, it takes away the static of the cardstock. And so whenever you apply your embossing powder, it will allow all the embossing powder to not stick to the areas that you didn't prep before. So I'm going to use my Versamark ink to cover my entire background here. And I'm going to really give this a really good press down onto my background here and make sure that I'm getting all of this good and covered, because obviously this is a bigger stamp and the cardstock that I'm using, the side that I'm using, is textured. So I want to make sure that I'm getting a good press down onto my stamp to make sure I get good contact with that cardstock. I'm going to coat this with my favorite white embossing powder. This is the Hero Arts white embossing powder, one of my really favorites ever. It's a really great bright white. And another great one that's comparable to this powder is the Fawn white embossing powder. So if you're looking for a great white embossing powder, either one of these is great to use. So I'm just going to cover this entire background here, make sure I get that all good and covered. And I'm just going to repeat the process of the same thing, and I'm going to go ahead and heat set that with my heat tool. And you can kind of see what that looks like now with both of them heat set. That background is just so beautiful. So I'm going to do just some really simple watercoloring here with some distress inks, just to add a little bit of color to my backgrounds. And I wanted to do 2 variations of this card today. So I'm going to use pumice stone for one, and then I believe tumbled glass for the other. I think that was tumbled glass. So I wanted 2 variations of this card, and you'll kind of see as to why in a moment. But I'm going to this is just a little plastic palette here. I will link everything that I'm using in the description bar below if you're interested in any supplies that I'm using. I always want to do that for you guys, just in case you see something that you're interested in and it's easy access to those supplies. So I'm going to go ahead and cover the first background here with some just water, plain clean water here, and I'm just messily applying the distress ink. No rhyme or reason. I just want to get this color down onto this background. But since I did emboss this background, what it's going to do is going to resist the watercolor that I'm applying, which is one of my favorite techniques ever since I have started card making almost 9 years ago. It's just one of my favorites, and you can get so many different looks out of Emboss Resist, whether it be with just dry embossing like this, or watercolor, or adding any kind of inking, anything like that. It's just so fun to do. So if you're new to card making, I highly recommend giving this technique a try. It's really fun to do, and then very easy too. So I've also applied the pumice stone distress ink here, and I'm just going to go ahead and just tap this all over the background. Like I said, I'm just no rhyme or reason, just trying to get that color down to the background. And I didn't really tape these down because I knew that I wasn't going to do too much of the watercolor at all. So that's why I'm just kind of messily doing this and just wanting to get the color down. Now I did add several different layers of color, because especially with the one with the tumbled glass, because it is such a lighter color. And as you will see, I will set these aside to dry just for a little bit, but I will go back in later and add just a little bit more color as these dried. I want just a little bit of a darker center of these backgrounds with the same colors, and so you will see that with the final product whenever I get them all good and dried. So I'm also going to, like I said, set those aside. I'm going to work on the rest of my card here. I've got the Snowflake die from the Stamp Market. This was a must-have for me whenever I saw this. And also this cardstock stack from Die Cuts with a View. This is the Metallics cardstock, and it's got all these glitter papers inside of it. I'm going to be using the rose goldy color and also the silver for my snowflakes today. But I will warn you, this cardstock pack here, the glitter will get everywhere. And I did not know that when I bought it. You know, I usually don't like to have glitter everywhere, and it did get everywhere on me, on my work surface. Anytime I did die cutting, it got onto my die cutting machine, it got everywhere. So I'm going to put a warning out there that if you're looking to maybe getting this in for yourself, know that if you don't like glitter getting everywhere, you don't want this 6x6 pad. Just a friendly little, you know, suggestion, because like I said, even though it's beautiful, it's messy. So, but I just wanted to go ahead and use it up because obviously I wanted to create with it today. So I made an exception and I went ahead with my projects today. But you see what I did here with the backgrounds. Like I said, I made the centers of the background a little bit darker because I want those to stand out, because obviously my snowflake will cover a lot of this background. And you will see that I'm using a dry brush here. That's because I'm trying to get some of that glitter off. Why, I don't know, because I'm just going to add the snowflake to it anyway. But I digress. So I'm going to work on my sentiments now. I've got these one older set, and then the Frosty Friends is fairly newer, a few years old. I think it came out last year, in fact. And I die cut two pieces from white cardstock, this little banner die. I don't know where the banner die comes from. I don't know what manufacturer it is, but it's one of my favorite banner dies. So I have compiled the sentiment, Have a Magical Christmas, on the one. And then I'm going to use the Season's Greetings from the older stamp set, and then ink it up with the same black ink, which is the VersaFine Onyx Black Ink. It's one of my favorite black inks for sentiments, and it is a pigment ink, so if you decide to use it and you want to emboss with it, you certainly can, because it is going to take a little bit of extra time to dry. And so just kind of keep that in mind if you're looking for a great black ink to emboss with. So you see how this is going to look as I'm laying out my card here. So I'm going to get my Tombow mono glue here and get my cards put together. Just going to add some glue on the back of this panel and then add it to my paper tray inks. This is the Vintage Cream cardstock, and I thought this went well with the background because of just the color scheme. It has a little bit more of a, even though I embossed in white and the cardstock that I used was kind of a white, you know, since I added that background color, it kind of gave it a little bit more of a cream, if you will. So I thought it paired well together with that card base. So I'm going to add some glue to my snowflake here, and I thought that the kind of rosy gold would go good with this neutral palette. So I'm just going to add some really small dots of glue here to the back of this snowflake, and then get that adhere into place. And then really press this down really well to make it adhere, because like I said, this is going over an embossed background. So I just want to make sure that's good and adhere to my card. And then I'm going to add some foam adhesive to my banner sentiment piece. And I'm going to pop this up from that snowflake, and it's going to give a little bit of dimension to my card design. So I'm going to just take off the backings here and just make sure that I get this adhered really good and in place over that glitter. Sometimes adding things over glitter can be a little tricky, but this foam adhesive is really great for adding things, you know, over like glitter or embossing paste or whatever. It really adheres well. So you can see I'm kind of looking at my hand because, like I said, guys, even though this paper pad or this glitter cardstock is beautiful, it's messy. And I hated that part of it, but you know, I got through it just fine. But I had glitter all over my body and everything. So, but it was well worth it in the end. So I'm just going to continue to finish up my cards here. Just add the last of my sentiment piece onto that second card. And here's just an up close look at both cards. A lot of sparkle and shine. I love how both of them turned out. So that completes my cards for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching my channel as always, and I will catch you on my next video. Bye-bye.